All right, everybody, welcome back to the Pat Flynn Show. Having a good laugh with Jim Madden back on the podcast. Dr. Jim, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man. I'm already
Yeah,
having a good time.
yeah, no. As always, I'm like, dang, we should have recorded the 10 minutes behind the
Yeah.
scenes. It
There's
would have been,
familial stuff, so I had to
yeah, no, totally would have amazed and offended everybody. But we're going to talk about, I guess, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Let's talk about deadlifts. Let's talk about Nietzsche.
Sure.
Recently, I actually want to get your thoughts on this. I thought it was a really cool conversation. We both went on Mike Matthews' podcast.
Very cool conversation.
Just for like a roundtable on consciousness and philosophy of mind. What are your afterthoughts on that? What'd you think of that?
I mean, here's the thing. My number one afterthought coming out of that, as someone who works in higher ed and academic, right? Okay. I think it's very, very easy for academics to think that we have the market cornered on smartness, right? And that we have the market cornered on being reflective, and that we have the market cornered, on all that stuff. And a guy like Mike, who does not come from an academic background. I mean, he's an educated man and all that, right? That guy really has some ideas, and he's really thought very hard about things, right? And so I came away with a kind of this like sense of humility and just like really happy to know that there are people out there in all walks of life who are like really living philosophical lives, right? Whether they identify it that way or not. Yeah. So
yeah,
that was pretty cool, right?
Yeah. I enjoyed all of it, and it's not released yet. Probably in the next week or two, but dang, we went all over the place too. We went from, we took some shots at some materialist theories of mind, and then we worked our way to reincarnation at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my kind of conversation. Yeah, it was great.
And also, I think it's a great example. It's not a takeaway. Is the way real conversation works is not at all the way that like sort of typical disciplines work, right? And so when especially if you're an academic, you start carving the world by these artificial joints between the disciplines, right? Whereas you get in a real conversation, you might find that deadlifting and non-reductive theories of mind and reincarnation actually have a common nexus, right?
Right.
And because human life is something very entangled.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the feedback. Like I get how my audience will typically react to a conversation like that because it's my audience. I can't wait till Mike drops that conversation on his audience, man. I have no idea how they're going to take it. What the hell are these dudes talking about?
Yeah, I hope they get the whole thing, or they get it in a couple parts, because there's some good weird moments. I hope they don't lose.
Yeah, it was awesome. So what was your workout today? Did you get to the
what did I do today? I kind of I have changed up a little bit from the original plan, because I'm going to do a Jiu Jitsu tournament.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, give us, because somebody actually posted, I forget if they emailed me or whatever. They wanted to hear your Jiu Jitsu story and the world story. You mind giving us the?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to do a caveat first. Okay.
Sure.
So I did in fact win a world championship in Jiu Jitsu, IBJJF, which is kind of like the big organization. Okay, but it's Masters 4 blue belt. Okay, so it's second worst old guys world championship. Okay,
rock on, dude. But that's still fantastic.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So that means there were like 130-pound women in that room who would have kicked my ass, right? Like these black belts, right? Okay, but so I always wanted, like, because the jiu-jitsu world is like a very like respect and hierarchy means something in the jiu-jitsu world, right?
Right.
But anybody from outside that world that would have a problem with my second worst old guy world championship, I'd like to see their second worst old guy world championship, right?
Done deal, right?
So, but I always want to note that, yeah. So, I mean, so how do you want to, like, how I got into jiu-jitsu and
whatever you think is relevant and worth sharing? Yeah, because I'd be interested in hearing it too. Yeah.
Okay, I got into, so I started jiu-jitsu at 43. Okay, I don't know if I mentioned this in the show or not. So I started at 43.
Yeah.
And the way it originally started is my oldest son, who's now 18, wanted to start boxing. And I thought for his 13th birthday, I would get him boxing, right?
Right.
And because we're really into not like saying you can't do it because it's dangerous, right? Okay. And but I couldn't really find a good like boxing gym that I was ready to throw my 13-year-old into. But I found a judo club. And so I said, okay, judo, that's fighting, right? So we'll do that. And I thought, what the hell, I'll do it with him. So on his 13th birthday, we got in the car we did the birds and the bees talk, and we went and did judo. Right? It was
Cool.
a pretty cool birthday. Yeah. And we did that for about 1.5 years, and that folded. And one of the instructors was a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu guy. Right. And he said, really, this thing's dying. You should go maybe think about taking up Jiu Jitsu instead. And I remember I went to an open mat and just got wrecked. I mean, absolutely wrecked. I mean, cause thinking I knew something because I knew some judo, and literally getting destroyed by a woman half my size and stuff. It was, I'm like, okay, there is something really cool about this that I don't get. Right. And I'm of the mindset that means I have to figure it out. Right?
Of course.
Yeah. And so then I started training jiu-jitsu, and, I eventually get my blue belt, and I start competing at bigger tournaments in the IBJJF. And then it's like, now I'm getting like really hooked. I'm flying places to compete and stuff like that.
Awesome.
So in the fall of 2018, I went to the Nogi Worlds for IBJJF. And I went Nogi just because Masters Worlds in the gi is always the first week of school here at Benedictine. And like the 1 week where if I didn't show up for work, I might get in trouble is that week. Right. Okay. Right. So for me, like the big competition is going to be Nogi just because of the timing of it. Right.
Sure.
That's always over Christmas break. So it works out really well.
Perfect.
I go to Nogi Worlds, and I got third in my weight class, and then I got third in the absolutes, or the open class, which is no weight classes. So like they take the top 3 or top 4 basically, because there's always a tie for third place in IBJJF. Sure. And they dump you into another tournament now for where there's no weight classes at all. So anybody who wants to do that, you go and do that. Okay. So I got third in both. Really excited about that. That's pretty cool, but came away with just nagging sense of like, man, it was within my grasp. I really made some mistakes, which I know is unfair to the other guy because he did right things too, right?
Of course,
you come away feeling like there are just some little errors. And man, my coach and I we went to war with those mistakes for a year. Like I worked on some really small things every day for 12 months, right? Like really small. You want to talk about like generalist is short-term specialist, right?
That's it.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And I just developed a certain game that I play in jiu-jitsu to like bing, 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 bing. Right?
So would you describe your strategy? Because we have strategy in music, right? Where you're practicing a musical instrument. We call it practicing the speed humps. Like, okay, I'm good in general, but here's where I'm stalling out. And so to be more efficient in your practice, you practice the speed humps, right? Yeah. The transitions or whatever they are, and you really focus on that. So it sounds maybe like a similar approach with you there.
Yeah. So like say with jiu-jitsu, there's certain things everybody has to be good at. Like if you can't get out of like a bad position, if you can't get out of being mounted, you can't get out of being underside control, you can't get out of someone's back control, you're done, right? Okay. Because bad things are going to happen. You have to be able to get out of it. You have to be able to defend yourself. If you can't just play a basic guard, right, you can't do this, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's what you're saying. There's a broad competence, right? You have to have. But then within that, what you're going to win with is going to vary immensely from person to person, right? And it's going to have to do with your physical abilities. It might have to do with how smart you are. It might have to do with, all these things, injuries you have, stuff like that. And I had discovered there's something that really fits me physiologically or structurally, fits me personality wise, stuff like that. And, that had been a theme for me. And then after the first Worlds where I was close, right, I went into that thing for a year. That was like all I did. Right.
You have to, though, once you're that close, there's just nothing else to do. Yeah.
Exactly. And, and man, and God bless my family, like cost my family quite a bit. Right? You know what I mean? And not so much because they all trained too, but it was just like, Dad was a little
here goes Dad again, right?
Yeah, Dad was a little weird. Like my teenage sons were like, "Do we have to go in the garage and train with you again?" Yes, get out there, right? Smash me,
right? Yeah, which is such a cool thing, though.
It's a cool thing, yeah. And so like the whole and like my gym, man. I mean, when you've got a training partner who's training for something like Worlds, he is not the most pleasant guy to train with, right? I mean, there's like a wake of like broken training partners there and stuff like that.
Of course, right? Yeah.
And so and it just
serious, like people who are seriously after something generally aren't pleasant to be around.
Right. Yeah, it was really serious, and like I I had this thing where, you know, I think you have to have the guts to say, like, I think I should win this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Okay. Otherwise you're going to like, otherwise you're showing up with your excuse. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you have to say that. All right. Now, maybe you don't say it a lot. You don't pull a Conor McGregor and put it on the internet. Right? Okay. Right. But I think you have to think, no, of the people here, I'm the guy who should win this.
But right? I mean, that's, you know, I've never been a high level athlete, but I've done other high level stuff, including musicianship, and the mental rehearsal is huge. It's huge. It's huge. And my understanding is that just is what all high level athletes do, which makes total sense to me because that's what all high level anybody does. Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't think I understood how much stress and anxiety this was doing for me until after the fact, until I like felt the relief. Right. Or maybe stress and anxiety is the wrong word, but like how much of my emotional cognitive energy was on that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't write much that year. I mean, I was, you know, my thing was family and jiu-jitsu and go, right?
You know, there's a guy I kind of know, just to build on that. He was writing a book, and he's a New York Times bestseller. So he was, and this other one became a New York Times bestseller, and it was same thing. He's like, this needs to be a best-selling book, and he just put everything into it, and his foot went numb.
Yeah.
The entire time he was writing it. We went to doctor after doctor. Nobody could figure out what was wrong.
Yeah.
The book comes out, the release comes, his foot's completely better. So whatever it was about that, the stress, whatever, just like paralyzed the poor man's foot. So it just, your story reminded me of that. Right.
Exactly. So, you know, I go on this rabbit hole. I train. Okay. And so, and then some stuff had gone down, and it wasn't clear we were going to have the money to do it. Right. And then a $500 royalty check we weren't planning on for something showed up. Right. And suddenly I can kind of get the trip in on that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Jen just insists that I do it. She's like, you have to do this. Like she told me, like, you're going to LA to do this thing. Sorry. Right. You know, so I go and do it. And, I remember, like, I felt really bad too, because like it was my son who was a senior in high school at the time. He had a wrestling tournament that weekend, and that was going to be the only thing I'd ever missed. Right.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Don't you dare not go to Worlds!" Like he was insistent.
Of course. Right? Yeah.
And I was ready to like, no, I won't. I don't want to miss it. He's like, no, I'll have other tournaments, and you need to do this. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, you know, thank you, William. Right. Okay. And so I go out there. And it's interesting, like you get like a really big jiu-jitsu tournament like that. And you're talking, there's like 3,000 people in this tournament. Mm-hmm. And the way the IBJJF works is it's single elimination. Like you lose a match, you're out.
Gone. Right.
So, so there's no backside of the bracket for third place. That's why there's always a tie for third, right? Mm-hmm. They won't fight that out. They're like, you lose, you're out. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's high stakes. And you look around that room, and like everybody there is pretty good at jiu-jitsu, right? Okay. Because like generally people who at least don't have some evidence to think they're good at it aren't paying to fly and do all this stuff to get to LA to do.
Yeah, there's skin in the game, right?
Skin in the game now, yeah. And the stakes are high for everyone. And half of that room is going home 0-1. So, yeah, like so it takes balls to show up and think, I don't think I'm going home 0-1, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I get in there. Well, and the thing is that there's a wrinkle to the 0-1 thing. So I get in, and I know I had teammates who did well. A good friend of mine, Jade, she got second, right?
Nice.
And yeah, and my coach, her husband, he lost in the first round, but had a great match. And so we, like, as a team, we were having a good outing. But because I'm the oldest, I was like the last up. Okay. So I go in, and for my bracket, okay, the way it worked, I had a bye to the semifinals. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I get in my bracket, and I have a match that ends up as a 0-0 tie. Okay. And then IBJJF has like a kind of a controversial system on how to resolve these ties. Right. So basically I lose it on more or less a referee's decision in the tie. So I'm out. Okay. All right. But since I technically got third place, I can do the open class, no weight class if I want. Right. Okay. So I'm like, hell, we're in LA. Let's do it. We flew for this. Okay. So I jump in. And then I go 3 matches, 3 wins, end up with the world title.
Wow, man. That's sweet. Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah. That's such a cool story. Yeah, just how everything aligned. I love everything about that.
And I was the second smallest guy in the absolutes bracket. So there's a guy who is smaller than me. And then I think I weighed in at like 181 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And the first guy I got was an unlimited. So this guy's like he was a huge dude. He's a big boy. He's like 290, right?
Sure.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Really, they were all really good guys. And because we're all like 45-year-old guys, like we're not really into, you know. And then the second guy I got was like 230, and the next guy I got was like 215. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
and
sweet.
it's anytime you do a tournament sport like that, right? So you have your first match. Okay, you win that. Your reward for winning is you get a guy who just beat somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's only going to get harder.
Right.
And you do that next one, your reward for that is you get a guy who beat two people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both, one of whom beat somebody, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so, the matches got harder and harder. And I tell you what, though, this is the beautiful thing about it, is exactly what we worked on for 12 months. Exactly is how I won all three matches.
That's awesome. That's so
and
cool.
My coach, Derek Ripley, man, he coached his ass off. It was like you can hear on the video, like for the big guy, he had a plan, and he's like, and you can hear him like, hey Jim, do it now, and I do it, bing, 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 perfect. Like, yeah, he coached his butt. It was like this great thing, like Derek and I did together, right?
Yeah, man.
It's really like cemented the friendship in a way too. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah. Just my buddy Sam, we'll get him on a podcast here. He owns the Dragon Gym back in PA where we host all of our stuff, and he's 6th degree in Taekwondo. I think he's at least blue in Jits.
Sure.
But that's how we got to be good friends, right? He was my Taekwondo coach in college, and just competing. We always got stomped because I was at a state school, but for some odd reason, we were put in the Ivy League division of Taekwondo. So it was like, Westchester University versus like Cornell and Harvard. And it's like, not like I can't beat up a guy that goes to Cornell. I hope I could. The problem is it's team based. And like, we have like 5 people on our team, and 3 out of the 5 are just like looking for something to do to exercise. They're not very serious. And these Ivy League schools have like 100 to 200 kids. On their time, so we would just get absolutely.
And there are people who are like went to the best Taekwondo school since they were 2.
Of course, of course,
of the right genetic stock,
Right. So like I'd get a good match. I always did pretty well, but our team was just wiped. Just.
And it's tough to separate yourself from the team on that too.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's how me and Sam got to be such good friends, and then do a bunch of business stuff later. He'll be a good guy to loop in on this type of stuff.
2 more things about the championship. So the way it works is, what everybody wants to see at a jiu-jitsu tournament is the black belt open, right? Where it's all the black belts going across weight classes, right?
Right.
And that's on the last day, right? And but the thing is, the thing people are least interested in seeing is second worst old guys. So I'm having my matches, and next to me there's a guy. I forget his actual Brazilian name, but he goes by the name Cyborg, right? Okay.
That's sweet.
He'd be like
some Mortal Kombat character.
Yeah, exactly. And he'd be like the jiu-jitsu equivalent of Tom Brady.
I got you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm like having my little matches over here, and like Tom Brady's over there doing his thing. It's one of the great things about jiu-jitsu as a sport. It's really democratic. Like, you will be out there rubbing shoulders with the Tom Brady of your sport. You're not going to beat him. You're not competing with him, but it's like, they're part of it. Right. And so after that, and Cyborg, did okay, but didn't have a great day. He got his leg broken. Like, he got caught in a knee bar and lost, right? And he's like hobbling around. I don't know if it's literally broken, but he's hobbling around, right? And the video is pretty grim, right? And we're all getting our medals for my bracket, and we're waiting for the podium. And Cyborg wanted to have a team picture with all his guys on the podium, right? And he looks and he sees that we're waiting. Now, here we're like lowly masters 4 blue belts, right? And Cyborg, he clears everybody off, and he says, "These men are champions too," and like shows us the way to the podium, right?
Nice.
And as I'm walking up there, he pats me on the back, right?
Nice.
And I'm like, "You're the classiest dude ever to walk the earth," right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that sense of like this sort of solidarity thing that you have in jiu-jitsu, like you go to like say a wrestling tournament, people don't really like each other at wrestling tournaments, right? There's a little solidarity, but like if you go to a jiu-jitsu tournament, like everybody, there's like this real sense of like a solidarity among players.
Yeah. It's interesting how the cultures can vary like that.
Yeah.
From sport to sport, even from martial art to martial art. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And so that was this really cool moment where like that guy was like willing to like recognize this as legitimate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet. Okay, so you have another one. You're going to do another.
Yeah, another one. I mean, it's not a really big one. It's just my coach is on like a pro card for Jiu Jitsu, and I'm gonna go out there and watch him. There's a tournament that day, so I'm like, well, I might as well just jump in. I haven't competed as a purple belt, so it's probably a good idea to do it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, good for you. All right, then. So back to training. What are you doing?
Yeah. So I have a thing where when I don't really make weight or anything like that, but when I'm going to compete, I like to kind of feel smaller, right? Or feel slicker kind of, right? And so I tend to like move the training as it gets closer away from like heavy strength stuff to more kind of a conditioning oriented thing, right? So today I did like my workout today is I essentially did 5 Tabatas with calisthenics and then like a 30-minute run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I did I had an interesting routine today. I did 8 on the press at sort of a moderate tempo.
Yeah.
And then I rested about 10, 15 seconds. And I did 8 much quicker. Same weight, 55.
That's interesting.
Huge pump from that.
Yeah.
And then I did the same thing with deadlifts. So the idea is get a weight that isn't too heavy, like 225, something like that. Yeah. Slow, controlled 8 reps. Then I just did as hard of swings as I could. Again, like 10 to 15 seconds after.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the 28. And we'll see how I feel tomorrow. So I was it was like one of those, I'm just going to make it up as I go routines today. But I came out and I'm like, I kind of, let me write that one down. I kind of like that one.
Yeah. You know, up until I decided to do this tournament just like 2 days ago, right? I had been, and it's going to circle back to what you're doing, is I've been mainly training with a pair of 44s, a pair of 20 kgs, or sorry, on the kettlebell side, and a 28 kg kettlebell, right? Like those 2 things, right? And you know, I can do like all sorts of funky stuff with a 48 kg, right? But I have really gotten into like, have I gotten all I can get out of the 20 kg, right? Have I gotten all I can get out of the 28 kg, right? And I remember there was a article I read by Dave Tate many years ago where he's talking about good mornings and how he thinks the good morning is like the best exercise for powerlifters, except that everybody decides they need a good morning 315.
Yeah.
And they break their back. Right. Okay.
Right.
And he said, you know, have you gotten all you can out of 135? Have you mastered 135 through all the different rep ranges? Have you, you know what I mean? Have you really found the right form with that? Right. And because if you haven't, going heavier is mainly just wear and tear. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, again, especially if I'm not training to be good necessarily at kettlebells, I'm training to be good at other stuff. And so if I go any heavier than I have to go, that's needless wear and tear.
Yeah. You're spot on, man. I'm quite convinced that for most like average size dudes that have a fair amount of kettlebell experience, 28 kilogram, that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's like, you know, maybe doubles, but I'm not even convinced you need that. I think you can get a ton of mileage, even just like goblet squats with the 28 kilogram. Like, they're not super heavy, but they feel right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they just feel right. I fluctuate between like 159 and 165, depending if I have Chipotle that day or not.
That's right. And how tall are you?
5'10".
5'10". Yes, you're pretty stretched out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I got my first 28 kg this fall, and I was like, where have you been all my life? I'm like,
it's just the perfect weight.
I can do some good swings with that thing. Snatching that thing, you know, for like 5s is perfect for me. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm not going to do high rep snatch anymore because they just tear the crap out of my hands. I know that's probably my technique, but man, I don't want to.
Here's the truth, you know, Jim, and I know you know this, but like, you know what I was doing is I was doing 2-hand high pull swings. Now, some kettlebell people are going to get real triggered by that, but
you're going to get frothy anger about that.
Yeah, but I'm going to do a video on that, and I'm going to justify this exercise because. So the idea is it's going to look weird. People are listening; they're going to see it. But you do the swing, and you just kind of do that slight elbow tug, right? So it kind of like comes up to your forehead. So, you know, you got to get the extra height on it, so it makes your swings real snappy. And then it teaches you kind of that taming the arc motion that you're going to need for the swings anyways. And just adding that little extra high pull, the 2-hand high pull, you don't have to worry about the technical nuances of the snatch, which will tear your hands up. And look, we all get lazy on the technique, right? And your shoulders.
If you don't know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I'm like, man, this exercise is baller. It pretty much gives you most of the benefits that you would get from the snatch. Yeah, there's a little, overhead stability or whatever, but I'm getting that from the presses anyways. Yeah. So,
well, and another thing I like about that too is especially those of us who were like meatheads as kids, we've bench pressed too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I need to pull more.
We're good on the pressing, right?
Yeah. We've pressed enough. Okay. And something I've learned about the snatch is, and tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. But in the old school, right, we were taught the snatch as the high pull as a build up to it. Right.
Right.
That you're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. But when you actually look at people who are good at snatching, they don't pull that thing out here.
Right.
They pull it here and they essentially press through it. Right.
You're right.
Yeah. And Pavel even does some of this in the most recent book where he says, you're going to get a big bang out of the snatch for your press.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially working that same motion dynamically, explosively, right? Now, if I'm wrong, don't.
No, you're spot on. I do not like the single arm, like staggered step, high pull progression to the snatch. Cause I'm like, that isn't the snatch. It's not the snatch. Right? It's not.
I like it as a standalone exercise.
Don't get me wrong. As a standalone exercise, I think it's great.
I'm getting a dynamic row now.
But what I try and teach people to do, like if you're learning the snatch, we teach this kind of at our little cert, is start from the top, throw it down aggressively, because where you kind of naturally catch it, right? If you can learn the aggressive throw in the descent, that will teach you the groove, especially if you really learn to throw it, that you'll kind of learn to naturally reverse that. And that to me, I think is a much better way to get people into snatching. Just do the top down, the throwing, maybe add some swings. And then once you kind of feel like, okay, kind of got the groove on the way down, bring it back up, and you can skip the whole staggered high pull progression altogether.
And I think this is a brand, but I mentioned I've been doing this stuff from On It.
Right. Yeah, no, and mention everything, man.
Yeah, by all means. Well,
I'll call them up others. Like, yo, you want me to keep your name in the show? If so, here's where to the check. Right?
If I can help you out, right? But obviously, On It doesn't need our help.
Yeah, they're like, who are you?
Like Joe Rogan's not like, oh, Jim mentioned me. We better finish it, right? But anyway, I'm an On It fan, right? But anyway,
they put out good stuff. They do
put out good stuff. Anyway, so a lot of what they have this new like really cheap little kettlebell program, and it's built on doubles, right?
Yeah.
And that's how that's how I got to be using these double 44s. But I found one of the things I was doing for that program was these double 44-pound high pulls.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, man, this is perfect. Like my shoulders feel so good having done this, and it's upper back work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the high pull is like, it's part of my repertoire in a way that it hasn't been since like 2006 when I was learning to snatch.
Dude, I'm glad we're in agreement on this, because I've been falling in love with both the single hand, but even the 2-hand high pull.
I'm gonna try the 2-hand.
Yeah, just and like you can get like progressively more aggressive with it. Like just start with some standard swings and then really start driving the hips and doing the 2-hand high pull. And then like throw it back down, man. It's kind of like the reminds you remember the power bomb swings they used to do in the starts where people would spike the bell. You kind of get the same feeling with that, but you're doing it yourself. So it adds a lot of aggression to the swings. That.
Yeah, and you got to like work harder to pull it out of the hole if you've thrown it back. Yeah,
right. Yeah, it just cranks the intensity, and then coming off of just like the slow, controlled, moderate intensity deadlifts. Whoo, man.
Yeah,
it's no big walking plans tomorrow.
Yeah, I have not deadlifted on a barbell like in a long time, right? But man, I'm kind of getting a little itchy, right? We'll see though, because like for me, there's sort of a temptation there because it can get out of hand.
If you touch it, you're not going to be able to stop yourself, right?
I've got a really good boundary now. It's sort of like the reason I think keto works is because it gives me an easy rule, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, I think that things are working right now because I have an easy rule: don't deadlift, Jim.
Yeah. No, we got to bring in Sam, because you're like my buddy Sam. Like he keeps jacking up his freaking back because he keeps like pushing the deadlift, and he's got some impressive numbers. And every time he jacks himself up, he's like, I'm done. I was like, I'm gonna go back to deadlifting, and I'm just gonna be chill with it. Yeah. I'm like, no, you're not. Yeah. No, and I just saw him post another stupid video on Instagram again. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't want to, I didn't message him yet, but like, I don't want to hear it, man.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, I know she cheated on me, but she won't do it again. Right. You know,
the stories we tell ourselves. Right?
Yeah. And then like you talked to that same buddy 2 years ago, like, you know, okay, all right, she did it twice, but you know, I know she'll be okay this time. Right. You know, like, no, she's not a nice girl. Okay. Just, you know.
Yeah, we're done playing around with that. No, I love this. I love the self-awareness there, right? Like how, and like what an important thing that is to have in life and in the gym. Like if you know you can't dance with an exercise without just wrecking yourself, then
don't do it. Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do the dance. Right.
And for me, it was sort of like the deadlift was not the thing that really hurt me that much. It was more the squat.
Okay? The back squat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't back squat. I have not back squatted in a long time.
Partly, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that like I am built the back squat. You know, I'm 5'8", right, and I've got a long upper body but short lower body, right. So the mechanics are really good, and oh man, I could put some numbers up, but man, it got out of hand, right.
Right.
And then when I got out of squatting, got really into deadlifting. I was like, I got to a point in the deadlift where I was very, very happy with where I got. I got to 300% body weight. I'm like, okay, get out.
Yeah, it's solid. That's good.
You did that. Get out, right? Because you're gonna turn this into the squat now.
Yeah, I never got to 3x. What did I get? I think I got 2.5, and I'm like,
that's pretty good, man.
And I'm like, it's not. Yeah, but I was hurting, right? Yeah, exactly. I was hurting at that, and I'm not built to deadlift. Yeah. I'm built interesting. I'm built to snatch. Like I'm a strong snatcher. I'll take anyone any day in pull-ups, like weighted pull-ups, dips, any day. I'll throw down on that. But deadlift, that's why like the tactical strength challenge is always kind of depressing to me because like
you gotta do the deadlift, man. Yeah.
I can't. Like I just can't compete with the dudes in the deadlift. I can smoke in the snatch and the pull-ups, but the deadlift is just
I kind of want to tack strength challenge for the reformed meathead.
You're right.
We're just doing snatches and pull-ups, right? You know?
Dude, I would sign up for that.
Yeah, that would be fun for me. But like when I see the deadlift, I'm like, am I going to start getting a belt out again and all that? No, I'm not doing it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I love it.
You mentioned your buddy who, you know, like he's putting, you know, deadlift videos on Instagram now.
Yeah.
Okay. This to me is why, at least maybe for everybody, at least for like the more physically fragile middle-aged guy, right? And with all the things that come with middle age, you need to quit working out in a gym. You need to work out at home. And maybe you need to work out alone. Okay. Because I think 9 out of 10 bad gym decisions are made because you are engaging in subconsciously in the male monkey dominance hierarchy, right?
It's a social pressures for sure.
It's a social pressure, right? And like, it's like, especially if you used to be really freaking strong, right? And you still are freaking strong, right? But you're in there, and you can't stand that everybody there thinks you only deadlift 225 or something like that, right? You know what I mean?
I know. Of course I know what you mean. Like I'm at the gym and like I'll walk by just like a set of rings, and I'll just start doing a bunch of muscle ups and like make them look really. I'm like, why am I doing like this? Isn't in my program. Yeah. Why am I doing this? Oh, because 10 people are going to see me do a bunch of really good looking muscle ups.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And I have found, like, since, you know, I work out entirely at home, things I kind of walk away from potential bad decisions workout wise,
right,
that I ever have, right?
Yeah, and muscle up is, you know, it's okay for me, but it like, so I'm fortunate that I haven't had too many training injuries. And the ones I had a bad hamstring pull in Taekwondo, but not in training. Yeah. And that nags me a little bit. The worst I've had, and it's pretty annoying, is elbow tendonitis, medial. And that flares up, and it flares up from things like muscle ups. And there's like no reason for me to do muscle ups. There's just no reason. Like there's nothing I really get from it that I don't get from just doing, you know, dips and chin ups separately. It's just, hey, look, rings and people.
You know, and this is something I have to worry about with jiu-jitsu too, because, you know, right now I'm good to go with a guy half my age, right? And I'm good to go with a guy half my age who, you know, outweighs me by 60 pounds, right?
Right.
But yet the other shoe is going to drop on that at some point, right? You know, and so I need to get better about saying no to rolls, right? Yeah. Just, you know, and there's an ego thing there, right? There's an ego thing, and you know, but that's something I'm working to get over, right? Because I know I can do it now, but when that threshold crosses, I don't want to find out that threshold was crossed when I, like, you know, tear a rotator cuff.
When you're on the other side of it, you know what's sobering for that? For whatever reason, I've been watching a lot of old professional wrestling documentaries.
Oh yeah.
And
There's a genre, right? Yeah.
Dude, man, I can't imagine a worse profession. I can't, right? So, you know, you have like all the terrible things that come with like just being a showman and a performer and an
Yeah.
actor in general,
Yeah.
right? All the narcissism and
Yeah.
ego traps and
Life
all
on the
that.
road,
Life on the road,
groupies,
drug
fans.
use,
Yeah.
right? Tons of drug use, and not just like the coke and all that and the booze, but the anabolics.
Yeah.
And then like your actual
I would think
performance.
the coke, booze, steroid combination is really bad for your psychological health.
Right. And
Right?
then like your actual performance is just getting slammed through tables,
Yep.
getting jackhammered, speared.
Yeah.
What more could you do to abuse yourself on every
Yeah.
possible level? Like
Yeah.
you think like the rock and roll lifestyle is bad, but you're still not getting put through tables.
Yeah. At least Keith Richards wasn't getting hit with cinder blocks.
Right. Barbed wire bats. And
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, sure, their life on the road was tough, right?
Right. But listening to their injury stories, just
Yeah.
and like I'm obviously not a professional wrestler, but just the agony that these guys
Yeah.
live in their later lives. Like Hulk Hogan, who's in relatively good shape compared to some of the other guys who were just dead.
Yeah.
Right. I was listening to an interview with him, and it's like it takes him like an hour to an hour and a half to even just get on his feet in the mornings.
Yeah.
And like, I never want to be anywhere close to that.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care how impressive things
Don't care.
I can do right now. Like, I never want to be anywhere close to that in my life. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is okay. I think this is a really important consideration in terms of, I guess for like people involved in like the ministerial end of fitness, right? Like you're like fitness leaders, right? Okay. And how we, not that I am one, but how we talk to people about fitness, right? Okay. I actually kind of like loathe the word fitness, right? Because I want to know like fit for what? Like what are we becoming fit for, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't want to derive my psychological satisfaction from what I'm doing in the gym, right? Okay. Do you see what I mean? But and I think because I think if you do, if where I'm getting my reward is just what I'm doing in the gym, then these like really bad decisions are coming up.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And down the road, it's going to get really worse because you will not be able to deadlift that like that much all the time, stuff like that. Okay. So, and so I think as a guard for that, I think you should be trying to get fit for something. And it might be just so you can run around with your kids. It might be just so you can like be on your feet all day to teach, or it might be just so you can, be alert and active for 3 hours. I mean, but I think you've got to see that the point of this goes beyond this, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
And a lot of times, like you'll see, like with some of the, as Dan John puts it, like the workout whose name we shall not mention, right? Okay, right. Where like the point of it is just like this has to be as absolutely hard and difficult as possible, and we're just pursuing the fact that I did something difficult here, right? To no other end. I worry about that. And I've done this, right? Okay. I worry about this because then it's sort of like, your psychological reward is entirely derived from the workout itself. And that is going to lead to like ever worse decision-making.
It's a cycle of doom.
It's a cycle of doom. And you are going to wreck yourself with that. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think you need some type of teleological target, right? Yeah. That is beyond the weight room itself.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. And that can change over time.
Yeah.
Right. And it probably will and has to some extent. Like, like you can have like some global goal. Like I want to dance at my granddaughter's wedding. Right. But you can have other, things along the way, but they have to extend beyond the weight room.
And this is one of the things I actually like about a lot of the Onnit stuff. Okay. Because Onnit is so into like odd objects. Right. And so you've got kettlebells, which are, I know like we've swam in them so long and they're like, okay, they're not odd, but they're weird things. Right. Mm-hmm. And, clubs and maces and all this stuff. And like even the Onnit calisthenics, they're all skill acquisition, right? Like if you get an Onnit product, right? If you get, one of their programs, it's all about, let's acquire these very intricate physical skills and then worry about the no pain to no gain sweat as a side effect of that. But the primary thing we're trying to do here is to actually get good at the physical skills that tie into real human need, like combat. Like, so you're playing with a weapon, right? You know, it's a martial. That's one thing I like about on it is you're training everything like it's a martial art.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And like you got in hella good shape doing Taekwondo, but the point wasn't to get in hella good shape. The point was to master these skills. But to do the drilling you have to do to master those skills, you're going to get in really good shape, right?
That's right.
You know, and so you know, swinging a 25-pound mace is going to blow up your back and shoulders, but that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because you want to get really good at that, right?
Yes.
You know, and I find like that seeing everything as skill acquisition protects me from a lot of bad decision making. Right?
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm with you, right? Striving for the mastery. And you know what is helpful with that, but everyone hates to do it, is just put yourself on video, right?
Yeah. God, yeah.
But not for egotistical reasons. So like don't fall back into what we're talking about, but like really like nothing is worse.
Yeah.
Nothing. Legs boiled in molten salt with her. Nothing is worse than the first time you see yourself on camera exercising.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. Well, I could think of some other things that would be worse to see myself on camera doing, but we won't. But yeah, I agree. So, but yeah, I do this. I really love the steel mace. I love it.
Right. Yeah.
I do, and I'm really into my skill with it. In the same way, I'm really into my skill with the armbar, right? And I will videotape myself on it and get really super critical on what I'm doing there.
Right. But that's because you care about the skill of it and the mastery. Yes. Yeah. People forget about, you know, how important it is. Like all coaches know this in all sports. Like you need a review process, and all musicians know this, right? Because when you're playing your musical instrument, especially if you're not already high level, there's probably just a lot of things in real time that you're missing, right? Am I really on pitch? Was I really on the beat? And how do you improve that? Well, having a coach or somebody just tell you suck is always helpful, right? But the way you do it, and the way I do it now, is you record yourself and then you listen back, right? So you can kind of like take a step back and get a different perspective on it. And that's when you notice the mistakes that you're making that you don't notice while you're in the performance. And how true that is with exercise. Like so many times, like people think they're doing an exercise well, and no, you're not, right? And like, oh no, it feels great. Okay, well, let's look at the film, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this kind of goes back we're talking about with the kettlebell, right? You know, I can still press the bulldog, right? Just press the 40 kg, right? But that shit's ugly, right?
Okay. How come that kettlebell has a name, but
other ones don't? Like the beast and the bulldog are named, right?
Right.
Like what's the 32? It's the
pumpkin or something.
Pumpkin. Yeah, right. You know, the minor demon or something, right?
Right. It's
got to be more fierce than pumpkin, you know?
Right?
But yeah, so like I don't think I could press the 48 anymore. Right? I'd have to go down a rabbit hole for 6 months to do that again, probably.
Sure.
Right. But I'd guarantee if the 40 kg, I would get it, but it would like be this ugly, you know, shaky thing,
squirrely thing.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm not gonna build skill doing that thing, right? But man, give me that 28. I'll perfect that, right?
Right.
And ultimately, like what's probably better for me physically is the perfect reps, right?
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah,
definitely is. So this is funny because we always say in our conversations we're going to talk about like philosophical topic, and then deadlifts, and then we never talk about deadlifts.
Yeah, we never did deadlifts. Yeah,
and now we've actually talked about deadlifts.
Yeah,
but we haven't talked about Nietzsche yet. How are you on time?
That's one. I've got plenty of time.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
that's one more question about. So you said we do certs. Do you have a certification?
Yeah. So thank you, because now I'll get to plug it. So no, it started out as
we didn't plan that.
Yeah, no, we really didn't. It started out, just to give you the background, but the listeners might be interested. It started out as the Killing It with Kettlebell cert, and it's almost probably 10 years now. And we noticed, Jim, you'll probably agree with this, that there was a pretty big gap in the marketplace, right? So, you know, me and Sam, so Sam's the guy who runs it with me, right? We were running these kind of, you know, bigger, high energy kettlebell group classes and boot camps at our gym, still do. You know, I'm at a distance now from it since I'm in Wisconsin. I moved out of PA. And we realized a couple of things, like, okay, kettlebell certs are pretty good at, you know, teaching people to swing, but they don't teach you much about programming, and they certainly don't teach you jack about programming and teaching a group class, right?
Right.
And like, this is a huge need. And even more so is they don't teach you how to get people in a group class. They give you skills, but they don't teach you how to like They don't teach you that higher level skill of how do I get people to know that I have skills and can help them, i.e. marketing, right? Yeah. So we're like, let's fill that.
You're asking someone to invest in the certification, right?
Right.
So
right.
you should help them return their investment.
Right. And we're pretty good at this. We have successful businesses online off. So like, and we run large group classes, we program for it. We use kind of the philosophies of generalism. Right. So, and that, you know, most people want to be generalists, right? They want to have a good workout, but they don't care about, you know, setting some, you know, they don't care really. Most of them anyways, don't care about the tactical strength challenge, right? They just want to look good, feel good, move well, get stronger, leaner, etc. So we started this cert, and it crushed it, and it still does really well. We changed it now. It's just called the Strong On certification, just to kind of be consistent with the brand. And I mean, we typically do 2 or 3 a year, but with the world being covered in plague, we've had to just delay the past year. So we've actually had a number of people signed up. So this year we've actually decided to move it virtual, just so we can stop delaying, at least until, you know, further notice. So the next one will be in March. So gentle listeners, we actually just opened registration for this one. So it's cool because like we do a lot of like in the trenches stuff. So everybody gets a chance to kind of like run a workout, and then you get feedback from all the other coaches, including us, about your programming, your coaching style, your cueing. And then like this is going to make people nervous. Don't be nervous. Like it's like best to do this in a controlled environment before you go out into the real world, right? It's like, okay, you got 5 people who are pretty experienced, but now you have newcomer who comes in and they've got a hamstring injury, and now you've got to balance the situation, right? How do you keep
Jiu Jitsu gyms?
Right. Like, how do you keep the people who've been there engaged and challenged without making this person feel like completely isolated and intimidated and stuff like that, right? Like that's a coaching challenge that is a real world thing that you need to understand how to handle, that most other certifications they don't even address that. They don't even acknowledge it, but that's something you're going to deal with all the time.
That's genius, man. Yeah. I've seen that in jiu-jitsu gyms. I've seen that in other contexts. Yeah.
Right. So that's the type of stuff we deal with, like the in the trenches, the coaching in both individual group formats, and then programming too, from a generalist perspective. Like, okay, you know how to do a swing. Now let's talk how to, actually like put this in application. So it's not, so we actually recommend that people do some like SFG or RKC or even just like a weekend workshop. Like, don't come to our cert if you don't know how to swing a kettlebell.
Yeah.
Like have that down first. We'll help you refine it, but we're now moving to the next.
You got to be a kettlebell blue belt to show up.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, right? Like, yeah, you don't have to.
Wisconsin?
So no, so we did it in. So I just moved to Wisconsin a year and a half ago from Pennsylvania, and we hosted the cert at our gym, the Dragon Gym, which is you would love it, man. It's martial arts and fitness. It's grungy. It's the complete opposite of where I train now, because now I go to a Lifetime Fitness, right? So I went to essentially a hole in a wall garage with no heating or air conditioning, just totally underground, to like the most pampered facility in the world, right? So yeah, we host it there, which is cool because we can show people like this is our business and behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But COVID hit.
In Wisconsin, that's an easy like drive up, go do that, go see my mom.
Yeah, well, hey, you come out here, we'll run a private one.
Exactly, we'll just do it. Yeah, that'd be fun. No, I suspect I'll be in Wisconsin this summer. So
you have to let me know for sure. I mean, we
will have some fun, bro.
Yeah, we will have a lot of fun. And but for those who are listening, since let me plug it real quick. If you want to check out the cert, chroniclesofstrength.com /strong on certification. So thank you, Jim. It was very
I'm glad, because here's the deal. I've never done a kettlebell cert. Like I've never been cert in anything in fitness, right? It's kind of an embarrassment to me, right? And I've been at this forever, and I always, it'd be kind of good to do that, just to make sure I'm not full of crap, and I do have some thoughts of more professional outreach into fitness, right? And so yeah, it would be a good idea for me to do a cert, right?
Yeah, but it's like like we were just talking before we got on air about how I'm thinking about doing the PhD, and your advice was very straightforward. Don't do it. It's just a union card. I'm like, well, I kind of like signal, right? I kind of like the letters at the right name, but it's very much the same thing in the fitness world, right? It's like you can have alphabet soup after your name, and a lot of people do, and that is not any guarantee that, there might, I want to be careful here, right? Because I don't want to say that it's not in some way a filter, right? But at the same time, it's not a guarantee either, right? Some of the most brilliant people that I've learned from had no letters after. Like my first Taekwondo coach, champion in Taekwondo, incredible in fitness, like taught me some of the print. Like I was so fortunate to have him early on to stop me from getting sucked into all the bullshit, right? But he never had a cert, right? But he was an autodidact. He just read. He had a great bullshit detector. He knew his stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a it's not a guarantee.
You know.
Right. So my thing is like, if for people who want to do certs, like you do the cert because you really want to learn, and then you search out the best certs. If you want to just like work at the YMCA, then yeah, you go do, you got to get whatever piece of paper you need so they can check their box on their end.
Reliability thing,
Right.
Yeah.
So
well, maybe I'll just come and hang out.
Right? Dude, for sure. Sure. Yeah. We'll chat after about that, because I actually got some ideas. So that's, I mean, it's same thing, especially if you're involved with like RKC early on, man. That was such a good time. That was such a good time to be a part of that. And most of my certs, and I accrued a ton, most of them are long gone, right? They just expire. And to be completely frank, I couldn't even tell you which ones are still.
Remember like back in the day when like RKC was a Twin Cities thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I lived in the Twin Cities 2002, 2003. And then I moved down here to Kansas, and it's like two years later, I discovered the kettlebell thing. And I was like, oh, damn it, man. If I'd known about kettlebells when I was in St. Paul,
you're right there.
I could have been right there. I could have been in with that crew, And it seems to me that there was this golden moment of those early certs, right? Before it had become really highly commercialized, and it was always a little commercialized, right? But like been really highly commercialized, and it's when things get bigger, it changes it, right? It changes, and obviously it did change because there's been like the schisms and stuff within that, right?
Okay, very funny,
yeah. But I always think, oh man, I could have been there for the golden moment, right?
The golden moment,
the moment of the kettlebell.
I wasn't there. I was later. I was when I did my first cert. What would it have been, like 2008-ish? That was almost at like, I mean, there had to be at least 150 people at my cert. It was at a huge training, and like it was cool because the energy was just through the roof, right? And like the instruction was still top notch. But it wasn't. I know what you're talking about, like that sweet, that golden. Like I just missed that. You know what I mean?
Because like, I mean, I know, like, okay, you give a lecture a few times, right? And it inevitably becomes, you're like David Lee Roth singing Jump on the last night of the world tour in 1985, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you at a certain point, you're just, okay, just sing the hits, man. Right. You know what I mean? And so at a certain point, I'm sure a transition from like the golden moment when this was like new and fresh and we're figuring it out together and it's authentic, to like now, dude, play the hits. Right.
Yeah. I saw Roth live a couple of years ago. Yeah. At Summerfest here in Milwaukee.
Nice.
Dude was super, he still got it, man. Nice. Yeah. And, but the same thing. Like he's like not even part of Van Halen anymore. Play Jump.
Yeah. And last time I was at Summerfest, I went to a Helmet concert.
All right, so you know what Summerfest is.
Oh, totally, yeah.
But most people don't. So they laugh at me when I tell them that Wisconsin has the world's largest music festival. Like they just don't. So I'm like, I don't even want to try and explain this to you because it sounds like a joke. But believe it or not, Wisconsin actually has the world's largest music festival every year.
Last time I went to Summerfest, I got in like a gnarly brawl at a Helmet concert.
Everybody does.
Like a Helmet concert, like what else do you do at a Helmet concert in downtown Milwaukee, right?
Man, it's such bad news. Like I obviously I don't go to that anymore, but like this is what you did in high school, right? So, so I don't know if this was going on when you were in high school, but like they would send the buses out to the different regions, right? So me and my friends, being the degenerates we were in high school, like we would just smuggle the case of beer on the bus. And just go down to high school, and like usually like half of us would come back home on that same bus and figure out what
get on the bus, right?
But I mean, but you know, I saw some good shows there. My favorite show, oddly enough, and I saw tons of bands, and you know, like music is my life in high school, right? So like I actually cared about the music, not just the stupid high school shenanigans. But the best show I saw there, the best show, hands down, the musicianship and the showmanship was Alice Cooper.
Really? That's
Oh,
awesome.
hands down. Just
Yeah.
I will never forget that show. And like I don't know how old he was at the time. He had to be significantly old, but
Yeah.
just everything about that show was just
Yeah.
absolutely spot on, priceless. Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So my best concert memory was, I forget the name of, it was a smaller venue in Milwaukee.
The
And
Rave,
I think it might've been the Rave.
probably the Rave.
I saw Alice in Chains there on the tour for the Dirt album.
Mm-hmm.
So this is before they're really, really big, right? And I got the crap kicked out of me at an Alice in Chains concert. Okay. And so it's like, it's just like this great badge of honor I wear to this day, right? Like I was there before they were really big, and I got not kicked out of an Alice in Chains concert, right?
I have, dude, that's awesome. I have a number. I don't care if people aren't interested in this. We're going to keep talking about it anyways. But I have a number. Yeah, I have a number of rave stories, right? Well, I actually played the Rave in high school.
Really?
We were an opening act there. I forget what band it was, but like this was a big moment for us. We were playing the Rave. But I went and saw Megadeth there. And Lamb of God was opening. And this is like when Lamb of God.
That's an interesting band, man.
Yeah, when they first came on the scene, and those dudes are nuts, right? Yeah. So like I've, you know, in high school, you know, I think I'm pretty cool and pretty metal and whatnot. So I'm all into like the whole scene in mosh pits. And they start this mosh pit that they call the tornado, right?
Yeah.
And you can imagine what this is. They just try to get the whole crowd swirling and moshing. And I kid you not, I don't think I've ever been as scared for my life as I was in that minute. But fortunately, somehow in that chaos, I got thrown to the front, was able to grab on to the guardrail, and I ended up getting front row for Megadeth that night because of that. Cool. So it actually turned out pretty good, right? I totally separated from all my friends that when I came with. You know, some of them I haven't seen them since, right? But I got front row for Megadeth that night, so it was pretty sweet. Yeah.
The best concert I ever went to is I saw Bob Dylan this would have been the winter. It was Valentine's Day of '98. Mm-hmm. In this, so I had to. It was like I had a date with this like great girl, and we saw Bob Dylan. It was in this old Union Hall in downtown Cleveland, Ohio.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was just like this incredible evening, right? And it was like everything you wanted out of a Bob Dylan. Like Bob actually sang, right? It was good, and like just like people just sitting on blankets, right?
Right. Yes. Totally the opposite of a Lamb of God show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and another, and I'm really embarrassed to say this. Okay, so maybe the second place best concert I've been to is Elton John and Billy Joel at Milwaukee County Stadium.
I believe that, man. I bet that was an amazing show.
My sister won tickets on a radio show to see Elton John and Billy Joel. This would have been like '93 or something like that.
Yep.
So we got a limo ride from Manitowoc, Wisconsin down to Milwaukee to go see the show. And I tell you what, those guys, they were showmen. They were real showmen, you know, and I didn't really know what to do at a concert that I wasn't wasted. I was kind of worried about this, right? You know, right. And it was like a really great experience, and they really entertained the crowd and worked with the crowd. It was cool.
Yeah, man. It's of course you know what Summerfest is. I always keep forgetting that you're actually from Wisconsin. I keep thinking Minnesota, but you're from right where I am. So of course you know what Summerfest is. Yeah, just two other concerts that stand out to me. AC/DC will always be my favorite. 2001, just because I was such an AC/DC fan for no other reason.
Yeah.
However, that the year before I saw Kiss on their farewell tour, their 27th farewell tour, whatever farewell tour that was at the time, and Ted Nugent opened up for them.
Yeah, I've heard Nugent's incredible.
That was a wild show. He brought a buffalo on the stage.
Of course he did.
I don't know how that was arranged, but it happened.
Yeah.
And that was sweet. I actually haven't been to a show in a while. I'd like to, you know, see somebody at some point, but you know how it is.
It's been a long time since. Another good show I saw Soundgarden Neil Young.
That's an interesting combination.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. And I was one of a very small number of people who wanted to see both acts.
Yeah. Oh, I would too. Yeah, for sure.
You know, I'll tell you, here's one. So I was in the summer, what was this? It would have been like 95.
Mm-hmm.
I was working on a car ferry that goes from Manitowoc, Wisconsin to Ludington, Michigan. I was parking cars on one side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a buddy of mine had tickets to go see the Grateful Dead in Chicago. I think it was Chicago. And I was like, I probably would have got canned because I couldn't get someone, because I had to do an overnight shift when the boat got back late at night. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get fired over it. You can always go see the Grateful Dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was their last show.
No way, really?
Yeah. Like Jerry Garcia died like 2 days later.
Oh man. By the way, so you work that ferry. We've thought about taking that ferry a number of times.
Good trip, man.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, this is the one that shoots right over to Michigan, right?
Yeah,
It's funny. Cool.
Yeah, and we could make 3 trips over, right?
Yeah.
And like you always like you knew the guy working the bar on the ship, right? And
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, because we drive to Michigan like 2 to 3 times a year. Oddly, we take a lot of trips to Michigan. So like maybe we should just check that ferry thing out.
Yeah, it's a fun trip. At least I mean, of course, I haven't had anything to do with it since like the summer of '95. So yeah.
Yeah. So what? I'm sure it's largely the same.
I think the guy who runs it, like the manager of the place, is still the guy who was my 7th grade English teacher.
I'll tell him I know Jim.
Yeah, so I'll give you his name off the air, right? So if you go, ask him if you remember Madden. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Nietzsche. What do we say? I'm trying to stretch back to our conversation with Mike. The thing that he's a terrifying man.
Mike or Nietzsche?
Nietzsche. Well, both. We'll throw Mike in there too. But Nietzsche's, so Nietzsche actually is very funny because he is largely, the man who kind of like turned me into a degenerate for so long. Cause I found him pretty early on in like my philosophical journey. And by high school, like I was so steeped in Mencken and Nietzsche. And then but he also is responsible for getting me into philosophy. Yeah. It's funny because I look back now and like, I don't see him as a rigorous philosopher by any means.
Yeah.
But he's prophetic in many senses. Yeah. And he's extremely poetic and very persuasive and tons of fun to read. And it's also easy to see why he would be attractive to young men. He's aggressive. He's bold. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just something about him that is perennially attractive in a sense, his style. Yeah. And his genealogy of morals is spot on. I think if you take his notions of specifically resentment and you apply it to like this moment of like wokeism that we're having, I don't know. There's a lot we could talk about, but you brought him up originally, so I wanted to.
I'm looking for my copy of the it's at home. So yeah, okay. So yeah, so you're like, what's my like general take on Nietzsche? What I think the value, that sort of thing is.
Right.
Yeah, I think he is top 3 most important philosophers. Right.
Yeah. And let me see if you agree with this. Would you say that would you say who put it this way with Nietzsche? I'm like, this was a really good diagnosis. He's profound but not precise. No, that wasn't quite it. Yeah. It's escaping me. Anyways, you continue.
So I mean, I think what's missed about Nietzsche, especially people coming at it, from like Catholic direction or like broadly like Christian direction or something like that, is that if you read the Antichrist, like his most infamously titled book, you're gonna see he's gonna bitch about St. Paul quite a bit.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, but he also bitches about Kant more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you look at the Twilight of the Idols, right? Okay, he's going to complain about Christianity in there, and he's going to complain about Platonism in there, but one of the real primary targets is Kant. Mm-hmm. Okay? I think that's important. I think we have to understand Nietzsche in the German context of what's going on there, right? Okay, and I think what gets missed is Nietzsche is his direct target is the Enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least he has the same diagnosis he's going to make about Christianity, right? He's making about the Enlightenment too. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think that's important when you want to look at like, so a lot of people are like, oh yeah, we should, like Catholic, we should read Nietzsche so we can know what's wrong, right? Yeah, but there's some really deep right stuff going on here. Okay.
Oh, totally,
Okay.
totally.
And another thing I think is important to note about Nietzsche is even though like he's been like co-opted by like the academic left in a lot of ways.
Yeah, isn't that
It's
fascinating, man?
fascinating.
I got
But
like a
yeah,
feminist interpretation of Nietzsche in my
yeah,
kind of grad philosophy
yeah,
course. It was
yeah,
just I'm like, I know Nietzsche
yeah.
and however you're trying to like, or at least I thought I did, but this
Yeah.
is never how I've read this guy.
And I'm not coming out for the old European aristocratic right. Okay.
Hmm.
If you're in America, you're here because you were on the wrong side of that, right?
Hmm.
Okay, right. Okay. But much of what he's doing is he's trying to defend the old institutional order in many ways, right?
Hmm.
He just doesn't think like Christianity is available to hold it up anymore, right?
Right, right.
Okay. And so I think in understanding Nietzsche as a critic of the Enlightenment, I think it's really, really important. And I think
Mm.
there's something really profound going on there. I think there is something precise going on there, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, okay, so okay, let me okay, and I don't have the book in front of me, so there's gonna be a lot of seem like irresponsible, right?
That's
Okay.
fine. He's like a little foggy in my memory too. So
Yeah.
we'll
Okay,
negotiate
so if
somewhat in
you
the
if
dark.
you if you go to the gay science, right? Der Fröhlich Wissenschaften, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes joyful wisdom. Okay. And I think it's important to see the connection between that book and the book in the genealogy of morals, and the connection that Nietzsche makes explicitly in the genealogy of morals. Right? And I think the really important thing is to read the last essay, the genealogy of morals. Okay. But if you go to the section 125 of the gay science, it's where one of the few times in the published writings where he actually says God is dead. Okay. It's really curious the way that comes down in that section. Okay. Is okay. So the madman goes to the marketplace, right? And he said, first of all, he says, I seek God. Like the madman says, I seek God, right? And I'm not saying I can put all this together coherently. So like there's with anything with Nietzsche, there's all these like creepy spiders and goblin poetic stuff going on, right? And it's the unbelievers in the marketplace that laugh at him. Okay. And then the madman replies to the unbelievers, don't you guys know that God is dead? Okay. Don't you guys know that God is dead? He's not there to announce this. First of all, he claims to be seeking it, right?
Hmm.
And he's not there to announce it to believers. He's there to announce it to unbelievers. Okay. So what's going on there is he's saying, you Enlightenment guys, you are carrying on as if God exists. And by
Right.
your standards, he doesn't.
Right. Yeah. It's a total calling out of the sort of cut
Yeah.
flower ethics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And so then, okay, so we get that, right? And then what is the rest of the gay science, or like most of the gay science from there out? It is a series of self-referential arguments about reason.
Hmm.
Okay, meaning look, now, okay, if there's no God and we don't think that like the evolutionary process is guided, then what has guided the evolutionary process is just simply, getting dates and winning fights, right? Well, then it doesn't seem like reason's ordered to truth,
Right.
and therefore reason has no claim anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. Or whatever truth there is somewhat accidental. Right.
Okay, and but he's saying like, look, Enlightenment, by your standard of reason, okay, your project becomes incoherent.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. It is very interesting to see
yeah,
kind of like the seedings of the what's now known as the argument from reason,
yeah, no, it's
or
it's
the
the
in
first person to make it is Fredrich Nietzsche.
right. Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, and I think maybe the most effective version of it is made by Nietzsche. Okay,
Right. So why don't we give the gentle listeners kind of the background of that, because that's a very influential argument. I mean,
yeah,
you've got Plantinga's, I guess would be the evolutionary argument against naturalism.
yeah,
But I like arguments against like computational theories of mind. Like if all of our thoughts,
yeah,
aren't guided by their semantic content or meaning, but rather just physical processes alone, right? Like the manipulation of symbols of a computer would, then like the meaning could be anything, right? It's totally disconnected, right? So that means like it seems like we have a pretty strong defeater in
yeah,
terms of the reliability of our reasoning and cognitive processes, right?
right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so okay, at least okay, Nietzsche's version is to say, look, if indeed humans are just a product of nature, right? And he thinks, look, well then, and what's pushing nature is will to power, right? Not like a will to truth or, or goodness or beauty or something like that. So like theism's out. You can't say the Platonic story where so think, Plato says ultimately it's the good running the world, right? Mm-hmm. The history of philosophy and theology is different interpretations of what the good is. That's my view. Okay, right? That's out. God is dead. But who ruled God out? The Enlightenment did. Mm-hmm. Right? You're out. Okay, God, you're out. So now you're saying what's running the process, what's running history is will to power, mm-hmm. right? And it could be a Darwinian story about will to power where, really we're just after dates and survival, right? Or it could be, Nietzsche's more preferred story where we just get off on violence, whatever. Okay. But what's running it is amoral, right? Mm-hmm. What's running it is not concerned about like the Platonic form, right?
Right. It has no concerns.
It has no concerns, right? It's just expressing power, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And I know there's all sorts of, let's not overcomplicate what I say. So if that's the case, and that's what's running the universe, and we are just expressions of that, then whatever formed our belief forming processes, right, was not concerned with truth, was not concerned with beauty, was not concerned with moral goodness. It was concerned with getting off on power one way or another, mm-hmm. right? And so now when we come to some conclusion, right, there's a question. Did we come to that conclusion because it's actually true or because it contributes to our expression of power? And those are two different things, right?
Right.
The way I explain it to my students all the time is you got two monkeys in a forest, right? The forest is on fire, right? One monkey sees the fire and says, oh, the mean kinetic energy of my molecules is about to go way up, thereby dissipating them, right? Mm-hmm. The other monkey says, oh, the fire demons are here and they're going to take me and carry me off to the land of woe, right? Either way, both monkeys leave and they both get laid, right?
Both are useful. Only one is true.
Only one is true, right? And so there's no reason up front. Now, there's very complicated stories we can get on, right? But there's no reason up front to think that evolution is going to favor the true one. It's going to favor the one that expresses power, however we think power works. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, okay. And it seems, and Nietzsche's view is that the story of science, the story of enlightenment is okay, that's inevitable that we would come to that conclusion, right? But if that's the case, then the story that gets us to that conclusion is itself purporting to be true, to not just be about power, to be objective. But it would seem the upshot of it is that there is no such story, right? It is all just expression of power. So now and Nietzsche is claiming it's incoherent. It's absolutely incoherent, right? And I think he's saying we can't help but go with the scientific story now, but yet we have to admit by the scientific story, every story we go to is in fact not here because it's true. It's because it gives us power.
Right. And thank you for opening up the world of absurdism for us. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think both of us would argue no, Nietzsche, you're definitely onto something. So we should, rather than bite the bullet on absurdity, we should take a couple steps back. Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a fascinating take. And you're right. Right. So I want to be clear. I will always have a very soft spot in my heart for Nietzsche and H.L. Mencken, right? I think that have you read much Mencken? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's not a philosopher; he's more a writer. But he was very influenced by Nietzsche, and he actually had the first book I ever got on Nietzsche was Mencken's book, and it was the first a book printed in English that kind of brought Nietzsche's thought into the mainstream. He got a lot wrong, as it turns out, but it was still a book worth reading, I think. Yeah. And there's just so much there, and I think you're right. So you're the top three philosophers. Oh man, that's a tough one. Yeah. I mean, for me, it might be Plato, Aquinas, and Nietzsche.
Yeah,
something like that, right? I don't know who it would be for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a moving target. But today, I'd probably go Plato, Hegel, Nietzsche.
Hegel, yeah. I know you're big into Hegel right now. Yeah, the reason, or maybe just it's hard because I consider Aquinas kind of like the capstone of the Platonic project, right? Exactly. So I could maybe just leave him out and Plato kind of covers him, or vice versa, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean. I mean, yeah. So there's a lot. So I like bang for my buck, right? and I can get everything I need out of Plato, right? Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a couple more things about Nietzsche, right?
Let's do it.
Okay, I want to talk about nihilism in a minute, but I want to make this connection to the gay science.
Love nihilism. Let's do it.
I love nihilism. Anyway, so in the gay science, or in the genealogy of morals, right? He brings up the gay science, and he says, "Look, the same critique I'm making of Christian morality, I'm making of natural science." Okay, that when he says like morality is not born of a will to goodness, it's born of a will to power. And he says, I'm saying the same thing about science. It is not born of a will to truth or something. It is born of a will to power, right? Okay, it is not grounded in reality. It is grounded in our expression of power. It's not objective. It's okay. He said right now. What's interesting in my take on that last essay in the gay science is he says, and he goes through this long process, and he says, so there's a purportedly serious version of metaphysics, and I don't think that's sustainable anymore. But I'm kind of trying to propose a playful version of it, right? And I think that the spiel, right, the playful version of it, an aesthetically moved version of it. That word play like shows up in Kant's Third Critique, introducing the very discipline of aesthetics, and it's like played through like Schiller and the Romantic poets like that. So instead of a serious metaphysics, I'm proposing a playful one. Okay, now whatever that means, we can talk about that. But it's a judgment based on the aesthetic quality of something. Okay, not its objective truth. Okay, and then he says, I think there could be a playful morality, right? Okay, and he says, so you've got a serious morality, which is Kant, but I think there could be a playful one. Right? The serious one can't happen because God is dead, right? But there could be a playful one. And he's, there could be a serious art, but I think there could be a playful art. He's rejecting the serious because he thinks God is dead, right?
Right.
And then he sort of says, yeah, and I'm rejecting serious religion, but moving on. Doesn't really, you don't get a proposal for a playful religion, right? Yeah. But yet it's open, right? And in the last line of the book, like the last section, the very last lines of the book, he says, look, the religious hypothesis was absolutely necessary to human development, right? It absolutely was necessary to human development, right? And he says, it is better that we will something than nothing, right? Or we would will nothing rather than not will at all, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so I don't even know that he's saying religion's behind us or even should be behind us, right? What he's saying is the genie is out of the bottle. And if we're going to justify something to give us meaning, right, it cannot be based on the old metaphysical stories. And I think he's proposing an aesthetic justification for things now. Okay? Right. Now, whether we think that's plausible, stuff like that, but I think to say that he's just saying, like to see him as like a Richard Dawkins type atheist, no way.
No, oh yeah, absolutely.
Like he sees this as a loss, right? And maybe my overly sympathetic take on Nietzsche. Like he's got his own proposal, like the Overman and all this, like, but
eternal return and all this.
Yeah. Well, I think the eternal return is just asking us to look at the world the way the Greeks looked at the world as an infinite cycle. But anyway, but I think what I can take from that text is say, look, the genie is out of the bottle. Okay, now either we have to find a way to recover the metaphysical tradition, or we have to maybe look into, is it possible to justify meaning on aesthetic grounds, right? Or are we going to face the consequences of nihilism?
Right,
okay.
Right.
And I think when you get into what nihilism actually looks like for Nietzsche, right? You go to Alzol Sprach Zarathustra, right? Where, he I have to check this real quick here. Sorry.
Take your time.
Get that back. And so what he does, Zarathustra comes down from the mountain, right? And it's all spooky and okay, right? And he's this sort of like antichrist figure, right? Not in the sense like he's satanic. He's just, it's all like kind of New Testament form, right? Okay.
Right.
But anyway, so Zarathustra like comes down, he's going to announce to the people in the town, like, I propose God is dead, but I'm going to propose the Overman to you as a replacement, right? And the townspeople are like, oh no, man, things are going pretty good, right? Okay. And Zarathustra says, yeah, but once you guys realize God is dead, you're going to become what he calls the last man. And the last man is somebody who aspires to nothing more than creature comfort, right? Who just, who aspires to nothing more, but just sort of like really basic sexual gratification. He has a little drug here or there to like deaden the pain, right? He's happy to lean on other people like a cow, all this stuff, right? And it's like Nietzsche's point is nihilism is going to be freaking boring. It's going to be like we're going to become a really, really boring, easily managed race of cattle. That's nihilism.
Right.
We're going to become oversexed, overdrugged, obese people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like I'm hoping people can fill in the blanks right now. Right? You just see
and he's right.
And he's spot on. And he's spot on. That's exactly why I said he's eerily prophetic. Yeah. Right.
Spot on. Right.
Even though I think he's off on like some of the most core basic details, he's eerily prophetic of the consequences of a particular assumption, which many people have assumed. Yes,
exactly. Right. And what I think is interesting, he's like the darling of the secular left, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone. Yeah. He's very strangely, right?
And he looks at like things like Marxism and socialism and like all the sort of like secular moralities. Like this is a hangover from the metaphysics of Christianity.
Right. He cuts through the bullshit. Right. He really is a great, like, again, I think he's deeply wrong, but I think at least he can see through the sophistry, right? And he can say like, hey, you've made this move. Here are the consequences.
Yeah.
And either you're going to be willing to accept that and deal with it, but let's stop pretending like these aren't the consequences. And that's what I've always,
and let's not become obese cattle.
Yeah. And that's what I've always appreciated about. And that's why I also at the beginning that he's haunting. He's haunting because he just sees with such clarity what the consequences of this particular worldview are.
And that kind of proposal, like, okay. And so whether or not you and I think per se the genie's out of the bottle and the Platonic metaphysics can't be, in that broad sense, Platonic, like we would put everybody but Nietzsche in, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like the Platonic metaphysics can't be recovered, right? Maybe we would say, I think you and I both say, that's not per se true, but it might be a cultural fact.
Yes, I would say it's a cultural fact, right?
Then is this proposal that we could find a common meaning on aesthetic grounds becomes a very important and interesting proposal. And that's what I see. Okay, not Nietzsche's particular aesthetics, right? But the idea that could we find common meaning on aesthetic grounds becomes to me a very valuable like hypothesis or proposal. Right? And that's where I'm going to go beyond Nietzsche's not just prescient, not just, interestingly wrong, but there might be like, that is the only way to go forward. Right?
You know what? That's very interesting, especially from a Catholic perspective, because there's a lot of Catholics out there like, look, pushing the truth doesn't seem to land with people.
Yeah.
The goodness, it's kind of bound up with the truth in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
We need to angle in with beauty.
Yeah.
With aesthetics.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's just like the philosopher of me, like I just like arguments and stuff like that. But I think that in many respects, I am just doing something that is often exceedingly futile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, so case in point, I am right now teaching a course on Kant's third critique, right? His aesthetics. And why? Because I think it's about the most important thing I can say in the presence of these young people right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like a lot of things that Nietzsche says in Zarathustra, it's like, well, look, the problem with the last man is the last man will never know what it is to create something. Like the last man will never know what it is to be moved by something. The last man will never know what it is like to see the star, right? And all these things. And he's referring to things in Kant, right? Where Kant is like awed by the beauty of the starry sky above him and all this stuff, right? And so that idea of an aesthetic proposal, right? Now, what that looks like, all that, it's all sticky. Okay. But there's where I'm going to go all the way to like, no, Nietzsche might even have to teach me something about what going forward looks like now.
Okay. So yeah, talk to me more about that, because I find this fascinating and probably correct.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, I know here. Okay. So here we go. All right. So, do you watch any of the Terrence Malick films?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Terrence Malick, Okay, interesting guy, Terrence Malick. Terrence Malick.
What are some of his films?
Tree of Life, To the Wonder, Thin Red Line.
No, I haven't seen any of those.
Yes, okay.
Heard of them, but not.
We need everybody watching this, go watch Terrence Malick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Malick was a philosophy undergraduate major at Harvard. Okay. Then he got, I can't remember if it was which of the big fellowships to I think it was Oxford, right, for grad school. My understanding is he had Gilbert Ryle as his dissertation director, but he wanted to write a dissertation on Kierkegaard, and these don't fit very well, right? And so like left Oxford in a huff, right? Okay, and then ends up at MIT and is kind of a hotshot PhD candidate there. Actually went to Germany, found Heidegger in his hut because Heidegger had become a recluse late in life, got permission to translate something by Heidegger from Heidegger, right? Okay, and then he's like teaching courses in on Heidegger at MIT, right? He still as a graduate student, right? And my understanding is like in the middle of a lecture, he just like put the chalk down and said, "I can't do this," and left.
Wow. Yeah.
He went to film school. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so Malick's whole, I think, like corpus is an attempt to go forward aesthetically rather than philosophically.
I see.
And it's all wrapped up with Heidegger and stuff like that, right? But like even for Heidegger, like his great essay on the question of sonic technology is like our way out of the nihilistic techno nightmare we're in is going to be a certain kind of artwork.
Yes. You know what I think is yes. Yes. This is right. And like, so I just watched the series The Mandalorian.
Sure.
And we talked about this, I think, on our first conversation or something like that. And man, it's got so many good moral themes in it.
Yeah.
But it's because it's an artwork and not an argument that I think it's actually moved people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yep. Like you could have tried to support the various, I think, right and important moral themes in that show philosophically, and it just wouldn't have gone anywhere, right? But bound up in that aesthetic portrait, it's moved a lot of people in some powerful ways.
So I'm finishing what I hope is my last book in philosophy of mind, right? Done. I just need to like get it ready, right? And then after that, I want to write something on Malick, right? That's the next is aesthetics in Malick, okay? But so I could do, and I'd love to do sometime like a tap dance through where I can show you the Heideggerian and themes and stuff in these films, okay? But I don't want to do that.
Let's do it. Let me watch the movies, exactly. And we'll make it one of our upcoming episodes.
I want the film to happen to you and the gentle listener, right? First, right? And so I would say, especially in your case, given your Catholic background, I forget your wife's name. If you can say that, Christine, yeah. You and Christine should sit down and just watch A Hidden Life as soon as possible.
Start with that one.
Yeah, it's the last one, okay. And so at some point I'd want you to like read the films in order, okay. But I think it's the most accessible, all right, of his films, and like don't look for the philosophical themes. Just
watch it. Sure.
Just let it happen to you, right? And because like the Heideggerian thing is that the later Heidegger thing is like ultimately now, all we can do now is listen, right? That we have wrecked ourselves so badly now that we have the Enlightenment and has brought us to this point of like technological nihilism, right? That our attempts to do anything are just to double down on the technology, right? And so he says, all we can do is listen for being to speak to us again, right? And I think what Malick's doing in those films is he's trying to create an occasion for you to listen.
Jim, that's really cool stuff. I was not expecting the conversation to go in this direction, but I'm very glad it did.
And this is what I think about now. This is kind of like where
I mean, my brain's like, yeah, I'm going to thank you, because now I'm going to be thinking about this all night.
No, go watch
Actually, no, me and my wife were supposed to have a little, we were going to watch some old WCW, but we'll put on the Hidden Life.
Put on the Hidden Life. Yeah, do it. And it might be like, and just let it happen.
Right? Yeah. All right. So we're going to, this is good. This is good. We've been going for a while. So why don't we do this? We'll assign the listeners a set of deadlifts in those 3 movies.
Exactly. Yeah. No, reasonably weighted kettlebell work.
Yeah. Reasonably weighted kettlebell work. Those 3 movies. So that way you'll be able to keep up with whether it's the next conversation or 2 conversations from now. We'll definitely make that happen.
Terrence Malick's A Hidden Life is starting place.
Yeah, that's sweet. Dang, man, what a fun conversation. We went all over the place.
It's a blast, man. It's a blast.
Yeah. Any summary thoughts here, and anything else that you want to kind of like? Well, you got this Philosophy of Mind book that you're wrapping up.
Yeah, I'm wrapping. That'll be some months before it's out or something, maybe even a year. So there's no need to make push. But yeah, I am completing. Hopefully, like the last one 7 years ago was to be my last act of Philosophy of Mind, and then I was going to move into aesthetics and stuff like that. But now here I am, right?
Dude, you know what's funny? Because I spent so much time on natural theology, and I actually wanted to do more in like philosophy of mind and stuff like that. Because like I said, I've always kind of peeked into it. But now Gavin and I just got the book deal to do the Aquinas thing. So I was like, dang it, now I'm back.
But like in Godfather Part 3, there's this scene where Al Pacino's like, I want to get out. They just pulled me back, right?
Right.
That's how I feel about philosophy of mind. I want to shut up about it.
Right.
I keep getting, like I'll get invited to a lecture and I'll do the lecture. I'm like, oh man, I figured something out. So now I got to like do it, and then next thing you know, you've got.
Yeah. But like this for me, and this is probably how you feel about the Philosophy of Mind book. Like this is going to be it, right? We're going to get like Aquinas right? We're going to have that book on the 5 ways of Dante. We're going to explode whatever people think are the best objections to classical theism. And I'm going to wipe my hands of it.
Yeah. Exactly. No, so summary thought is we are invited to listen, right? We're invited to listen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet, man. All right, dude. Hey, real quick before we hit unrecord or whatever it is, do you have just for the listener's sake any updates on a Jim Madden like email list or anything for people to keep an eye out for there?
Not yet, but I do think I have a title of what I'm going to do, right? In terms of like maybe a fitness book, for said email list, right? And it'll be train to fight, don't fight to train.
That's sweet. I like that.
And it hits themes that you can see how it hits themes we've talked about today. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, my brother. This has been great.
Excellent. Yeah. It's been an honor as always.